Let's
Cricket.
start with the greatest test match of all time.
Greatest test match or test series?
Test series of all time,
Test
sorry.
series of all time.
Yeah.
That's a big call.
It is a big call.
Bit
But
of recency bias.
oh, it's 100% recency bias in that one.
Yeah, I don't
Had
know.
everything though.
It did.
Debuts, solid bowling performances.
Yeah, good wickets. You had a 5-day match. You only had one rained out, which was
Yeah, the
historically,
Gabba.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, typically we have this few rained out. Sydney was dry and bouncy, and probably the most exciting Sydney test we've had in
It was a complete flip from what it usually is.
Oh, I mean, you heard the commentators say that this was probably the craziest Sydney wicket they've ever seen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm trying to think back to other test series that I can remember. I mean, the Ashes in England the other...
2005?
No, like a couple years ago when Australia... It was a draw. That's when Australia lost in Headingley to the Ben Stokes, heroics.
Yeah, what, 2013 or something?
No, that was Cummins was captain. So it was like
Oh,
that was like 2 years ago. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. So that was a pretty good series. Obviously, Australia drew that and the heartbreak of Headingley, but that was a memorable one. As you said, the 05 Ashes series. I didn't obviously. I'm 6 years old. Don't really remember that one.
That's a while ago. Yeah, that's like more when you're looking at highlights on YouTube.
Yeah.
At least at our age.
Speaking of the highlights, I was watching Mitch Johnson Ashes highlights of that one series where he got like 37 wickets at like...
In Australia?
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
37 wickets at 12 or something like that.
That's when he was getting Alistair Cook and... who was the other opener?
Yeah. The black guy. What's his name? I literally watched it like today.
Yeah.
C? Starts with C?
It starts with a C. I need to look this up quickly. Hang on.
Crowd, no. I literally watched it today. That's insane.
England.
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, Carberry.
Carberry,
Michael
yeah.
Carberry.
That's it. Close enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Johnson in that series, I actually can't remember that series. I was pretty young, but I do remember that series. Like, remembering how good Mitchell Johnson was, and then now watching the highlights, like, affirming that. Like, man, he was bowling like 150 clicks.
Yeah.
Hostile. And I remember, I saw an interview from Carberry a year or two ago where he was talking that was like the worst bowling he's ever had to face. Like, in terms of how hostile it was, how difficult it was.
Yeah. In Australia.
Well, the pitch, apparently as well, the pitches weren't that sort of, like, they were very different to the pitches we saw this series. Like, they're pretty flat. You saw some big run totals in that, but you just had Johnson bowling so fast that it was just, didn't matter what the pitch was doing. Can you imagine Johnson bowling like that on these sorts of pitches? I mean, it would have been...
Ball would have been going everywhere.
Yeah. Ball wicketkeeper would have had big problems. But no, back to your point about being the best series. I mean, even with recency bias, let's just accept it. It's up there for sure. And as you said, had everything. Debutants who didn't just make a name for themselves, make controversy. The constant controversy week, like with the Bumrah, and he's become a controversial figure. Constas. You have the Kohli controversy where people are saying, is he still good enough to be at this level? He's obviously very heated. He ran into Constas. He was in the spotlights because of what he did on the field, because of the runs he didn't get. You had the Sharma controversy. Should he be in the team? He stood down for the last match. Should he continue in Test cricket? You had Bumrah, one of the greatest series of all time. Scott Boland continues his legacy. I mean, man, what a hero. We were watching that... what day was it?
Day 2.
Day 2, SCG.
There was like 15 wickets that day.
Well, we're thinking, I mean, we need a breakthrough. This is like the end of day 2. This is like we were in danger of having a first test scenario where we bowl India out cheaply in the first innings, but then we get bowled out cheaply, and then India go bat big in the third innings, and then we have a monster chase in the fourth innings. It's just game over.
Yeah.
Now, some will say it won't matter because as soon as Bumrah got injured and he couldn't bowl, it was done. And you saw Khawaja even say that in an interview after the match, that they themselves, once they found that Bumrah was out, they said, okay, we can do this. So like they mentally were aware that he was not playing, and it gave them a positive boost. And he said that he wasn't even struggling in that series. He just got Bumrah'd. Like, that's his direct
Because
words.
Bumrah got him like 6 times, right?
Yeah, I mean, the way Bumrah bowls is like...
So imagine like a bowler's getting you 6 times in a full series. It comes down to the last innings and you find out, okay, he's not
gone.
bowling at me.
I know. And Khawaja looked the best he's looked all series.
Imagine how like I'd say a little bit of confidence comes back.
100% it does, yeah. The fear disappears and the confidence comes in its place. And as you said, when you saw the Khawaja's dismissal in the first innings, you pointed out where he was jumping 2 feet in the air.
Didn't have a single foot in the ground.
That's a symptom of fear, of bouncing around. You're not feeling comfortable. You don't feel confident that you're going to middle the ball. Like Khawaja against Bumrah was just waiting to get out.
Terrible situation for him. Like after all the, he takes his time. They're trying to like run down the clock. Then the Constance thing comes up. That just prolongs it a bit more fiery. The crowd's getting into it. Okay. And then it comes down to the last ball. You're just like, I need to survive. I need to survive. It's probably not even one of the best balls Bumrah's bowled. A bit fuller.
No, Khawaja's jumping around.
Khawaja's just, I just need to try and throw my bat at this thing.
But look, to be fair though, let's say he survives that and goes to the next morning. Are we saying he's surviving another 4 or 5 overs of Bumrah? I'm saying absolutely not.
Probably not going on past,
Bumrah had his number.
Experience in the series.
Absolutely had his number. Slam dunk. He had most of the batters' numbers.
Everyone, I would say.
And so him being injured, it's a shame because it would have been a very difficult chase, I think, with Bumrah bowling because you could.
It would have been a completely different.
Completely different. And I mean, to be fair, the Indian bowlers they did pretty well. Siraj, I mean, they only bowled 2 really. Siraj,
and Krishna.
Yeah, Siraj and Krishna. He bowled well. Got a lot of bounce out of that pitch. And the fact that they were able to get the Aussies. I mean, how many wickets was it? 6 or 7? I think it was 6, right? Because it was Webster and. Was Cummins in? No.
Webster and Head finished it.
Webster and Head, right. So that would have been, 5 down there because Carey never got in.
Yeah.
So you're 5 down. They managed to get 5 wickets. You had Bumrah in there. You'd have to assume he'd get a couple. So obviously it's all hindsight, but, you get the batters in there. I don't care even if there's 30 runs to get. If you're getting down to Cummins, Stark, Lyon, it's nervy, right?
I thought it was going to get iffy. Even without Bumrah, I thought it was going to go down to the wire and just get a bit iffy.
Well, to win the series...
9 down, I thought it was just going to be close.
To win the series like that, it's just... Until you get it to probably single digits, you're not comfortable. Yeah. So, but credit to Webster. He had a great debut. Probably one of the best debuts, all-round debuts. Didn't even look like a debutant. Like, he looked comfortable... Like, I spoke about him in the lead up to the test. I thought he'd be a great inclusion. I've watched him in the Big Bash. I've watched him in a bit of Shield cricket. He's a great bowler. He bats well. As you saw, some great shot play. He fields as good as... We have so many good fielders in the gully, don't we? Green, Marsh, and now Webster. He's kind of slip capture, Webster, but he was excellent. And he really... I mean, you can make an argument that he was, along with Boland, was the reason we won this test match. His 2 innings with the bat... He bowled well in the first innings without getting a wicket, got a wicket in the second innings, was able to just hold up an end, doing what Marsh couldn't do, where he could just bowl, like Marsh could maybe bowl 2-3 overs, Webster was able to bowl 5-6 overs. And that gave the bowlers a break, which they desperately needed. And that was honestly the difference. It was excellent selection choice by the selectors. You've got to give them credit for that. I'm sure there's a few other bowlers and stuff they could have picked. And one thing I'm liking right now about the way the Australian selectors are going about it is that Shield cricket really matters. Like if you perform well in Shield cricket, you are in line. Now, it's difficult because our team is so set. Like, you had Boland just tearing away in Shield cricket for years till he finally got a spot. Webster's 31. Like, you're having these players who have to play a lot in Shield cricket. But if you have a good couple years, the opportunity is going to be there. Yeah. And you just have to be ready to take it. And we're seeing these players who are a bit more mature, who have been there and done it for a while in the Shield cricket, come in and they're just... ready. Just for them, it's just another test match. Now, you saw with Constance, had that great first innings. But I said after that first innings when we were on this pod, I said, I'm a bit worried about how he's going to go next with all the Instagram followers, all the media attention. And you could tell it got to him. He in that last innings, in that second innings, he was basically trying to play like a T20 innings. I think it's got to him mentally that he has to be the guy to come out and swing and go after everything. And I don't think is able to go backwards in a gear. Like, I think he can only go up in gears, and which is fine in the Big Bash. But in Test cricket, yes, you want to play your shots. Yes, you want to go after the bowlers. But it's also about being able to go, okay, I've just hit a 6 and a 4. Let's rein it in for a couple overs, and then when a bad ball comes, we're going to smack. Just be able to sort of measure your innings a little bit more. Make the bowlers think, okay, he's not just going to hit everything. Maybe he'll go back a little bit and come forward. I just think it's getting to his head a little bit, and he's got a lot of work in progress to do mentally. I think what he did with Bumrah when he spoke to him at the end, when he was up his run-up, saying, what's wrong, you're not getting any wickets. Like, saying that to Bumrah is just a recipe for disaster. And as you said, it literally got Khawaja out.
Yeah, it's like a time and a place thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like coming down to the end it's coming down to the end of the day.
But that's my point about no backwards gear. Like, you shouldn't be doing it then.
I've always been very iffy, like, back in the day when I used to play cricket, like, talking crap to the bowlers, like, they've got all the ammo, like, setting fields around you, bowling to the places where you don't want to be bowled at, like bounces and stuff like that. Until
you get 100, you really can't say anything, right?
Yeah, like you can't do anything. Yeah. Like, the bowler has, like, all the cards in his hand, basically, at that point, especially when you're in the middle of the pitch and when you're saying it to...
the best bowler in the world.
possibly at the moment, that's having the
series of his life,
career of a series. He's in the, what do you have, like, he was in the top 3 for the best performance bowling figures wise in Australia from an international player, I think. Something like that. There's sort of just like a time and a place. I get what he's trying to do.
I don't get what he's trying to do in that situation.
He's trying to like make a stance, but I believe it was also like a time play as well. Like, he was just like trying to prolong that time, make sure there wasn't the end of the over.
I think the plotting the pitch and doing all that sort of stuff, but saying that to Bumrah when he was already behind his crease wasn't actually doing anything to time. I literally just think that he's a 19-year-old kid who's got in the spotlight, who's got the attention for being aggressive, for attacking going after the bowlers.
He's got like that label.
And it's now the label is sort of attached to it. And I think he likes it and he's playing to it and he's playing up to it. And as a result, he's just going forward. He's just go button forward, W key only.
Yeah.
And in sport, you need to have you have to switch gears. Like, it's just, especially in cricket, like cricket's a mental game. You have to be able to pivot. So in Rishabh Pant in his innings, he didn't just hit it every ball. Like, yes, he was smacking, but you saw a couple times he'd block. He'd go slow for a couple balls when the bowling was good. As soon as he got a bad ball, bang, gone. And you saw with Rishabh Pant earlier in the series, he got criticised a lot for going for big shots when it just wasn't necessary, when it wasn't the right time.
He got out on one.
A couple times. And one in the MCG when Pant and... Who was his partner in that? Was it still Jaiswal at that point? When it was the third wicket and they were just... I think it was Jaiswal.
In the second innings, you're talking about?
Yeah, in the second innings when they were 3 down, and if they had batted longer, it would have been nearly impossible for the Australians to have enough time to bowl them out. And then he did that, hit the pull shot to Travis Head and hold out, and that was essentially the end of that match. So now Pant has a lot more experience and notches under his belt than Constas does. And I think Pant has been able to switch gears a little bit, but his role in the team is to be aggressive, just like Constas is. But as you said, time and place, you've got to learn.
A lot different from when you're an opener compared to a middle order batsman.
Exactly,
as well, for the aggressive card.
Exactly, and I said he's trying to establish himself, and I saw it on Twitter and all that, and the comments, which isn't indicative of overall public perception, but you're starting to see that certain, even Australian fans, are starting to not like it too much. Like, a lot of people just generally are.
What kind of crowd is it, though, of the Australian fans?
I think it's going to be the people that are opposed to the smug sort of confidence. Like, it's just in general.
The modern cricket game?
No, I don't think it's even that. I think it's more people who, like, when you look at Jerome Luai, and people are just going to be turned off by that style. Now, some people will love it, but there's a lot of people who just, when they see arrogance,
overly
like confidence bordering on arrogance, people just get turned off. I think it's just a personality trait, to be honest. And you started to see those people, especially what happened in the second innings the first innings with Bumrah. You saw that start to come out where a lot of people were defending him too, but you had people coming out and criticising him, saying he needs to reel it in, and he hasn't done enough to be able to talk like this yet. Obviously, India fans were tearing him apart, but that's just partisanship. I mean, that's cool. That's going to happen. So
what would you give his like grade for the 2 tests that he was in? Like, A, B, C, D sort of grade.
It's difficult, isn't it? Honestly, I'll just give him a C+. Is
that a pass?
It's just above. I'd say it's about 60%.
Yeah.
It's a credit. It was... Obviously, what he did in Melbourne in that first innings was great to watch. He set that test match alight, put Australia on the front foot, but then he really did not do much for the rest. He did get us to a good start in the second innings of the SAG, which sort of quieted the nerves, but I think you can also argue
25, right?
Also argue that the bowling was so poor in those first few overs in the SCG that I think the bowlers were trying too hard to get a wicket.
Yeah.
They felt like Bumrah's not here, we have to get a wicket, we have to make a breakthrough, and as a result they were spraying it everywhere.
The difference in that bowling from the first to the second innings for India, I think for the total first innings they had 12 extras throughout that whole innings.
Yeah.
Within the first 5-6 overs, they had 14 extras.
Yeah. It was bad bowling.
It was just, it was erratic. I think it was just sort of getting to them. And
they were tired. Yeah. They were tired. They were mentally, I think, exhausted, knowing Bumrah's not there. They have to work extra hard. Kohli didn't trust Reddy. They're basically just bowling the 2 bowlers only.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. I think India were just shook that Bumrah wasn't there. And they still, I said, to their credit, made some breakthroughs. A couple of poor shot selections from the Aussies. But yeah, overall for Constas, I think C+, pass grade. He was done enough to solidify a spot, like did more than McSweeney did, and just by the sense that he's gotten all the popularity and the notoriety that he's now going to be in the frame more than McSweeney will be, because sort of McSweeney is going to be someone that most people will, if you're not really into cricket and you're sort of just watching it because it's a big series, you're just sort of going to go into the back of your mind. Oh, McSweeney, remember when he opened for a bit? Whereas Constance has sort of ingrained himself into the memory psyche of a lot of cricket watchers. So he's going to get more of a shot. He's still young, so he's clearly going to get opportunities. I'm sure he'll probably go to Sri Lanka and open. Sri Lanka, right? But, it'll be just interesting to see how he goes, because for me, I'm getting a sense of a little bit of Jake Fraser McGurk in him, where what's happening with McGurk this year in the BBL, where there's all this weight of expectations. It's his first year coming to the BBL, where he's an established superstar. He went great in the IPL. He's been great in overseas leagues. He's been playing for Australia in one days and T20. He comes to the Big Bash, a competition where he's supposed to dominate, where he's supposed to show all his skills. He's fallen flat on his face so far this year. And I think Constance has got the same sort of boat, where you start off well with no pressure. I mean, you only have one innings really with no pressure. And then the pressure starts piling on, starts getting amped up. And it's like, how do you deal with that? Is in cricket, which is a mental game, how you deal with the pressure and the added extras that come onto you mentally is just as important as how your technique is. So the jury's still out on him, but he's definitely done enough to give himself more chances to prove himself long term. Yeah. I don't know, what would you say? You agree? Or
Yeah, no, I agree. I would definitely give him a pass mark. Batting wise, nothing against the first innings. That was probably the absolute stellar performance out of all four of them. Obviously, there was a few nudges. Virat, got into him. Bumrah's gotten into him. The whole Indian team basically got into him at one stage. And I don't know. I feel like field-wise, he took some catches. I don't think he dropped any that came to him. But he came into an Australian team. Looked like they all sort of gained some confidence from it. Took the pressure off in that first innings. You saw Smith and Labuschagne come in and get massive runs after the ball was 15 overs old.
It was better. McSween and Khawaja, they just couldn't survive at all.
So I'll give him a pass mark. There's been so much hype for this kid over, I say, like a year and a half, coming through Sheffield, getting all those hundreds in Australia A as well. So I would like to see him go to Sri Lanka, see how he goes over there.
Him and Webster have to be in the team.
I would say so.
I heard Cummins probably going to be rested.
Yeah, Cummins will be rested. I don't know who his opening partner is going to be.
For sure.
Because I would rather Head.
I think that would be Kawhi, just because he's good in spin-friendly pitches, typically. That's why I like to pick him. He did really well in that second innings, Khawaja. I think, personally, that he'll be in. I understand what you're saying, like Head, but I think I kind of like Head down the order, especially in Sri Lanka, where hopefully our openers can blunt the ball a bit.
As good as he is, it's a crazy tactic just to have him coming in at, 6? Being able to...
I think he's great there, because I think he is shown in Test cricket. I love him opening in one day in T20s, but in Test cricket he's shown that when he comes in later in the order, he's a game breaker. Like, if he gets going, we win games. Like, I think there's a stat where whenever he scored a century, I think we win nearly all those games, because he scores them so quick. He takes the game away from the opposition. Mentally, the other players who bat around him get the confidence because he's scoring quickly, so they can bat their natural game. It's a flow-on effect. You saw what he did in the World Cup final, what he did in the World Test Championship final. He's a big game player. His style of cricket, you need that in the team. You put it to opening, you open him up to different risks of a new ball swinging and seaming around, and he is susceptible to getting out early in an innings, Travis said. He typically either gets out early or he gets a good score. So if you put him out in the new ball in Test cricket, with the ball seaming around, good chance he's going to nick off. So I like him lower down the order, less chance to get out, better chance to survive those initial few balls, and then can just get his innings going and go at his fast pace.
Is that good performances at the top of the order, though?
But in Test cricket?
Yeah.
Honestly, can't remember too many. Has he been there much recently?
I'm sure he has.
Because Warner and Khawaja have been established for a few years now.
I'm positive he's had a couple of innings up there. Maybe it's only white ball I'm thinking about.
Definitely white ball. I mean, he's a stay opener in one day in T20. But I think because remember, even when Warner initially retired, we put Smith there before we put Head there.
See, I thought there was a bit where we had Head before Smith.
We may have tried it for a bit, but I don't think it was like a long-term thing. But either way, I said I much prefer him down the order. I think Constance and Khawaja are a good duo in terms of they have pretty opposing play styles, which is, I think, good up the order.
Do we know how long Khawaja has, though?
You definitely at the tail end, but maybe they're thinking next Ashes series will be his last.
It's all right, so just stick with him the whole year.
What to see? I mean, I said he played well in that second innings. From his words, he says he just got Bumrah, that there was no problem with his form. It's just Bumrah was getting at him. This might be the case, yeah. So I think he'll go to Sri Lanka. I think he played really well when he went to Pakistan. I know they're pretty different pitches, but similar style where there'll be a lot of spin and
heaps of spin.
So I think he'll be good there. Hopefully he can get a good score.
And so we would have to take 2 spinners, right?
Yeah, well, apparently we're going to take a few. We'll probably take Kuhnemann.
Todd Murphy.
Maybe Murphy. I think I've heard Kuhnemann. Who's the leg spinner from Brisbane Heat? Swepson and obviously Lyon. The 3 I've heard, and maybe Murphy as well. Obviously have Head who can bowl some offies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is Zampa ever going to get a go again?
Maybe. I think Swepson's been the preferred red ball leg spinner. But then I think a lot of our bowlers will get rested. I think Cummins will be rested. I think Stark will be rested. Hazelwood, I doubt, will play.
Probably won't.
Probably be a chance for a lot of the bowlers to get a chance. Boland will probably play.
Boland.
2 spinners, Boland, and then
try and
Webster.
Give you Richardson a go.
Webster and maybe Richardson or another. Maybe get Abbott a go. He's been around. Give him a chance. Yeah. But yeah, I think it'll be 2 pace bowlers, and then Webster to be the 3rd foil, and then 2 spinners will be our makeup. And I think that's a pretty good side. Batting will stay the same. Sure, Smith and Labuschagne, they just go everywhere, bat everywhere. That will be it. Hopefully Head at 5, Carey, and then Constance and Khawaja. Pretty settled team, apart from the fast bowls. They deserve a break. Cummins Stark played all 5 matches, which is, incredible. We saw Bumrah tried to play all 5, couldn't do it. Siraj does, but he's just a workhorse. Man, his body must be just broken. I don't know how he's going to need a long break, old Siraj. But no other bowler bowled all 5. Lyon did, but he didn't bowl in the 5th innings. And he's just in the team because he's just always picked for vibes. And just when you need him, he's going to do a job.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And we didn't just win the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. It basically sealed our spot in the World Test Championship against South Africa, which is June, I think.
The only way we don't get in that is if over rates.
Yeah, we don't
in
make
Sri Lanka.
Over rates.
There should be no problems with over rates with all the spinners.
So now we should play that.
First chance to be back-to-back champions. Sri Lanka just beat Pakistan. I was following that match. They got 600 and something in the first innings and then bowled Pakistan out for 200 and something. And then in the 3rd innings, they enforced a follow-on. And then in the 3rd innings, Pakistan got 400 and something. But they were only 60 in front, and then
I just saw Rabada just going on a heater.
Yeah, well, credit to Pakistan in that 2nd innings for it wouldn't easy mentally just be man, we're 400 runs down in the 2nd innings. They've still got to bat again. Yeah, to just be mentally checked. But they had a 200 run basically opening stand and then continued it on. So credit to Pakistan, but South Africa, they're very good at home. Their batting's a little weak. It's performed well in this series against Pakistan, but I don't think Pakistan have had their best bowling lineup. It'll be interesting to see who South Africa pick. Typically, recently in Test matches, they haven't been picking their strongest teams because some of their players don't opt to play Test cricket. Yeah. Test cricket's not really their main focus. So it'll be interesting to see what team they pick. Do you know where it is? Because
it's at Lords.
At Lords.
Yeah.
That's probably a good neutral ground for both teams. Yeah. Both teams' bowlers will have a field day. Jansen, Rabada. Yeah. Cummins, Stark, both teams, it's going to be a bowling paradise. It's really going to be a matter of which batters can survive and get going. As Travis Head type scenario where one batter comes in the middle order and just smashes 100 where no other batter's even able to get 50. I feel that's going to be the type of game. Yeah. And that'd be a great game to watch. Australia have the history of being there and doing that against India, which is probably a harder opponent, you'd have to say, than South Africa. But, credit to South Africa. They've only lost 1 Test match this whole Test series. And in saying that, they've versed very low-tier teams. They haven't versed many of the big dogs, and they've been nearly all at home. So it's been a very easy set of games, schedule for South Africa, but they've won who they've had in front of them, and some would say that with only playing 13 matches or whatever it is, and England have played 30-something, that it's a bit of a skewed system. But at the end of the day, my argument is that it's better than nothing, and it's very difficult in Test cricket to put too many rules and regulations on it because it'll pack the schedule. You need to still give the countries their discretion to pick where they want the games and all that sort of stuff. I don't think once you start forcing it's just going to become a problem. So it's not perfect, the World Test Championship system, but it's better than nothing, and it does work, I think. I
assume it comes down to when you're actually scheduling them as well, because the big dogs, they're probably scheduling their games already against other people, so how are you going to find time to,
And the biggest criticism of South Africa was the one series they did away to New Zealand against a big team. They didn't bring any of their big players. It was basically a beat. And I think they still beat New Zealand, to be fair. That's where they lost 1 match. I'm pretty sure they won the series. Yeah. But that's the big criticism on them, that the only 1 series they actually had to play away. They basically just didn't worry about bringing any of their players. Because they said Test cricket just doesn't seem to be their focus. But, I think England and India just lost 2... India losing that series 3-0 at home to New Zealand. I don't think you deserve to be in the final from that. England have lost plenty of Test matches. They played a lot of Test matches. They've won a lot, but they've also lost a lot too. So I've got no problem with Australia and South Africa being the finalists, and should be a great match.
Definitely. And then for the rest of the year, West Indies, straight after that. And then
a series
Ashes.
in West India?
Yeah, we got series in West
series?
Indies. Test series.
Wow.
And then Ashes at home.
Yeah, that'd be a big one. I mean, Australia are very hard to beat at home. England struggle in Australian conditions.
Yeah.
As we know, Australia's the only country that Root hasn't scored a century. I think that's sort of indicative to just the way Australian pitches are is basically completely counter to the way English batters like to play, which is a lot of cover drives through the offside. And the Australian pitches, as we saw with Kohli and batters that like to play those big drives, your chance of getting nicked off by Cummins, Boland, our bowlers who bowl that outside line who just bounce on the seam and get it to go away. It's just...
Especially what we saw this summer.
Yeah, and you saw that in the last Ashes series at home. I mean, English batters just got tormented. They just could not survive. Our bowling just counters the English style of batting so well. So I think it's mostly just the extra bounce that gets the English players, because I think when you go to English pitches, there's not that much bounce. There's a lot of seam movement and swing, but not much bounce, and I think that's what really gets them. So Australia will be massive favourites going into that. The only team that seems to be able to beat us at home is India, and we just beat them pretty convincingly, 3-1. Probably should have been 4-1 if you take away the rain at the Gabba. So Australia is, right now, I mean, we're a cricket juggernaut. Controversial take, but I think Australia, don't even worry about formats. Australia is the best cricket team in the world right now. We do currently hold the one-day World Cup. We are the previous owners of the T20 World Cup, current Test World Champions in the next Chess World Championships. Just beat India. I think it'd be very hard to mount a case that one country has the wood over Australia right now, or could make an argument that one country is better in cricketing-wise than Australia is.
Not when you look at the trophy cabinet right now.
I think since Cummins has taken over...
Everything.
Since Cummins has taken over, Australia has been the best cricket team in the world in all formats, just in general. Just, I've seen you can make a case that in T20 this team's been better, but I'm talking, you take it holistically, all three formats, Australia is the best cricket team in the world since Pat Cummins has taken over, and it's a lot of pride. I think Australians take a lot of pride in their cricket team. I wouldn't say it's hard to say it's our national sport, but I think in terms of the sport that we come together the most, I think would be cricket.
It is a national sport.
You would say it's a national sport?
Cricket's an Australian national sport.
The national sport?
Not the
That's
national
what I'm saying.
sport.
Or what would be our national sport?
AFL.
I don't know. It's difficult to say that, though, because in New South Wales, which is our most populous state, it's not that national sport.
I mean, what else would you put then?
That's what I'm saying. You can't say NRL because it's only one half the country.
Tennis?
For 2 weeks of the year, yeah. Stay tuned for Aussie Open content.
Maybe it is cricket.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think cricket is the one that's like unifies the whole country. So, like, even though it's probably not the most populous, I would say if you had to pick one sport that is the national sport, it would probably have to be cricket. So we take a lot of pride in our cricket team. If they win and lose, I think people wear it pretty well. And
I mean, we saw the crowds came out for this series.
Sure did.
Absolutely, record-breaking attendance in the MCG. SCG was way up there. That looks packed all 3 days. I mean, yeah, everyone's just loving their cricket right now.
It helps that Australia's one playing well.
Yeah.
Two, I think there's a lot of people like the team. Like, they're a likeable team. I think Cummins has created a nice culture there. The Sandpaper Gate seems like 20 years ago now. Like, it's well back in the memory.
I mean, Kohli brought it back up.
Yeah, but again, you see how even that no one really cares. Like, I feel like people are just so past that now with this team that it's not, because of the leadership group that come in. The bowling is a leadership group in our team, because they had nothing to do with that. It was like the Warner, Bancroft, Smith, the batting unit. The only one there who's still there is Smith, and I feel like Smith, you can't really hold that against him too much. I don't want to get into that issue, but Smith to me seemed like a bit of an innocent bystander, sort of roped in. So I think that well behind us, we turned a new leaf. Credit to Justin Langer and the Cricket Australia with that interim time, but since the Andrew McDonald and Pat Cummins has taken over, it's been one trophy to the next. Underdogs in the T20 World Cup, underdogs in the one-day World Cup, favourites in the Test, doesn't matter. One has favourites, one has underdogs, doing it all. Teams remain pretty solid, but when people have to retire, like a Warner, or people have to be replaced.
The next man up,
and they come in. You see Boland comes in, does a job, Webster. There's been others who've had to come in, and they've just done what they need to do. So Australian cricket is in an excellent spot. BBL is doing well, viewership's going great. The Shield cricket is still going strong. As I said, viewership TV wise and in person, which is also important because you need the venues and the states themselves. You don't just want the TV broadcasters and Cricket Australia generating all the money. You want the actual states and the venues to be making money as well, because just you need it to be shared around. So it's dollar signs and pluses for everyone really in terms of cricket. So yeah, it's only going to be up, I think, in terms of Australia.
For sure.
And for India, a bit of soul searching.
I mean, yeah, captaincy, veteran players, all question marks that are over their heads right now.
I've got a lot of decisions to make. Because I said, one thing I'll say is the Indian cricket players are not just sports players, they're rock stars. So, as we know, India has a massive Bollywood culture. They have movie stars. They sort of worship their stars. So these cricket players, you got to see them more as movie stars than you have to see them as cricket players. And as a result, it becomes very difficult to drop them, becomes very difficult to criticize them. It's sort of a cult-like.
They're like icons.
Yeah, exactly. They're an icon. It's like LeBron James style, they sort of surpass that sport figure and you turn into, as you said, an icon. So when Kohli or Sharma and all this are going poorly, it's very difficult because then you go back to the IPL and they're back to being treated like kings. So it's a very tense situation to manage. I think it's surprising to me that Sharma doesn't just want to retire on his own. Like, it's surprising that he doesn't just want to go off into the sunset and test cricket and focus on T20 and one-dayers. Kohli just seems like a guy that's just going to play until he drops dead. I mean, that guy just seems like he just loves the competition of it.
Yeah, I was just looking up what India's next series is, and it's England in June.
Oof.
June/July.
What a big year for England, eh?
Still like a...
India than Australia.
Yeah.
Is that in England or in India?
It looks to be in England.
In England?
Yeah.
Wow. Jeez, credit to India too, going to Australia and to England.
That's why I figured they would have a break because obviously they're not in their home country for
IPL.
It's a holiday season and stuff like that. But
they'll have a few weeks off and then it'll be the IPL time.
Yeah. So obviously they've got plenty of time to suss out their issues that they've got over there.
As we know, Test cricket in India.
It'll be interesting what sort of way that they go into.
Yeah. And Test cricket in India is not really like their they clearly care about it because they send all their big players out to Australia.
Yeah.
But T20 is because just all the money is the number one in India, rightfully so. But yeah, it's because there's not that too many players knocking on the door either. Like, you got a few young batters who have come in. Jaiswal sort of established himself. Gill hasn't really, shows glimpses. Hardik Pandya, I said he doesn't really play Test cricket. His body doesn't. I don't know if he wants to. His body won't let him. A lot of the bowling, as we saw in this series, is after Bumrah, is a lot to be desired. They're seriously lacking pace bowlers, which is going to be a problem when you go to England and Australia. If you're trying to play overseas, you need bowlers that can have some bounce, have some seam movement, just have all the tools that you saw Bumrah have. Whereas the other bowlers just didn't have it. They were just, there was a class below what Bumrah was. And I don't see many bowlers that are going to be close to the Bumrah level. Like, that's the thing with Australia. Cummins comes off, Boland, Stark, Hazel. It doesn't matter. That you're going to, all of them can get wickets and all of them are going to be difficult to score against. You had that with Bumrah, but all the other bowlers, they had their moments, but consistently they weren't at that level where they're searching for wickets and stopping the runs. Like, Siraj had moments where he was getting smacked around. He went for 1 for 100 a few games. The other, Akash Deep, he bowled well but struggled to get wickets. Reddy, they didn't really want to bowl him. I mean, wasn't it Prashad in that last match? Was his name? Krishna. He bowled really well, but again was loose. Had many loose deliveries that got put away. Yeah. When he got in the right areas, he looked dangerous, but he didn't do it consistently. It was also one of those perfect pitches for him too, because he's got that. He's such a tall bloke and such a long sort of stride that he has in his run up and stuff like that. Like, he was, once he found the seam on the ball, it was going everywhere. It was like what Scott Boland was doing. Yeah. They sort of stepped up for me when Bumrah went out. They definitely stepped up in class. They got some wickets, but it just wasn't enough as to what it had to be. Yeah, it still wasn't. They couldn't. They just don't have that class anymore. No. So yeah, I said they've got to sort of figure out what they're going to do long term. MB, I'm not sure he's a long term coach. I don't think his personality is suited to Test cricket. I think he's too.
Yeah, apparently, there was a lot of news
internal
coming out
riffs.
Of the camp. There was a lot of. But maybe that was between the captain and the coach.
I've heard of things before him in the IPL and stories about him that he's quite a controversial figure. He's got a big personality, bit of ego about him. That. And I don't think you need that. Like you saw with Andrew McDonald, the perfect Test coach. Out of the spotlight, doesn't want any of the headlines. You very rarely see him. Gambier is not like that. And I think as a result, you're going to have more of these internal rifts. You're going to have more drama more emotion.
Even when we're doing the conferences and like announcing the teams, like Cummings did ours. Like Cummings, he came out, faced the media, and was like, we've dropped Mitch.
Exactly, he's our face. He's the face.
And the other one, Rohit, didn't come. No. It was the coach.
Is it Kohli? Is it Gambier? Is it Rohit? Is it Bumrah? Like they've got a leadership vacuum, and I think that becomes because I think Gambier. I obviously don't know the bloke. He's going to sound harsh, but he seems a little self-serving. Like he seems a little bit of a guy that's in it for himself and in it for his own fame and fortune. And I just don't think that's going to work in a team with so many stars who are currently stars. I just don't think it's a good fit. I didn't think it was a good fit when they were looking at him. I thought no way they'd do that. They ended up picking him, and so far not good. He's performed poorly in his first few series as coach. Still a big year coming up for him, and India are not the type of country to put up with failure for too long. So if it doesn't go well, I think Sharma's head will be in the chopping block, Gambier's head will be in the chopping block, and maybe even Kohli's. Even the King might have his find himself guillotined eventually.
Yeah, it sounds a bit harsh, talking about Kohli. Not really, you want him to go out on his own sort of merits, but maybe
he's
going to
ruin his average.
Decision.
He's going to ruin the average.
It's already kind of ruined.
It's getting low. It's 46, I think, right now.
Down the 40s.
I mean, look, you get under 45, he starts to become quite bang average, right? for a top player,
Yeah.
Steve Smith, he got around 56. Yep. Roots above 50. Williamson above 50. That was supposed to be the big four, and his Kohli is going to be dropping to below 45. Like, if I was him, I would hang it up and just focus on T20, focus more on the broadcasting, more on just being in the game. But I said he just seems like a guy that just lives for the competition, lives for being in those big moments, scoring the big. You saw how angry he was when he got out in that second innings. Like he truly, in his mind, thought, "I'm going to be in here till the end, and I'm going to win us this game." Yeah. But right now, he's just not in the form to be able to deliver on that.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add on cricket, or
I feel like that's everything.
Summarises a good summer of cricket.
Pretty much, yeah.
BBL's still going on. And as we said, we'll have the Sri Lanka series
in
like 2 weeks.
Like,
obviously, it's not the end of the summer of cricket, but in terms of the main event, the main event's over, and we have a few side events going on. Haven't really covered the BBL too much, but maybe when it gets to the finals, we might. But it's hard to cover.
Basically, kind of served up as to what it was meant to be, I would say. Australia and India.
I would say it over-delivered.
Yeah. So
over-delivered for sure.
Definitely can't hate on it. Great series. Great 5 test matches. Not a lot of rain, which was great. And a good result for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bring on the Ashes.
Bring on the Ashes. What do you want to do now? Transition to some NFL? Playoff football?
Yeah, now it's getting to the crunch time, isn't it?
It is.
Last week was, as I said,
time right now.
Regular season ended with a bit of a whimper. Not many of the games had many implications. It's a bit boring. The Lions and Vikings game was the big one, but that game even didn't live up to the hype. The Buccaneers made it in. They got their win.
Yeah, Bucks cemented. Who else?
The Broncos, they got in with an easy win.
Themselves.
Steelers lose to the Bengals, which means they don't get the Texans matchup. They now go to Baltimore, which is a very different matchup. Chargers get to now play the Texans instead of Baltimore, which again is a big change. In the NFC, there wasn't too many chops and changes. I think the seedings are pretty much set, apart from the Vikings and the. I mean, the Vikings. I was thinking this today when I was looking at the matchups. That you had the Vikings going from a guaranteed home divisional game to now an away going to the Rams in week 1. Like the difference.
This is insane.
A home division game to an away wildcard game.
I mean, imagine if it was the other way around, like the Lions happening to go to...
It's just, I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? But one game can decide that much. Like, I mean, as we said to the Chiefs, being the number 1 seed is such an advantage, not just because you get the bye, not just because you get home field advantage to the Super Bowl, but you get to play the lowest ranked seed in the divisional game, in the divisional round. So, I mean, that means you would get to avoid the Eagles and... Who's the other? Eagles and the...
Well...
The Rams, the 3rd seed?
No,
the Rams with 4th seed.
Bucks are 3rd.
Bucks. Biggest one, you want to avoid the Eagles, right?
Eagles.
So that basically means now that if the Vikings... I can't remember. Obviously, I don't know the bracket off the top of my head. But their run just gets exponentially more difficult. Exponentially more difficult.
Well, Vikings have to beat Rams and then...
Yeah, who
probably they go... If they win, depending on the other results, they probably run into the Lions.
Yeah, it'd be Lions.
So it's another divisional matchup.
Yeah.
Which would be their... Yeah, it would be their 3rd time meeting.
We'll get into our brackets a bit later, but I may have that matchup in my bracket. May. But yes, so not a bad end of the season. I said the playoff picture had already been relatively settled for a while, so it's more just getting that last week over with, and now the real games can start. I don't think there's anything on the par of NFL playoff football. I think, unlike the NBA or any other sport, the one and done nature of it.
Yeah.
You play a whole season, grueling 17, 18 games, and you get to this wildcard round, and none of it means anything if you lose. Like for the Ravens, if they come out and lose this game, the entire season, everything is done. You're going to get ridiculed in the media. Lamar is going to get torched. The entire team, the Bills, like the Eagles, are so much on the line. Now, there are a few teams that, maybe the Commanders don't have that much. The Broncos, certain teams that are just, they've already overachieved, where it's like if they lose, obviously you want to win.
Chargers, probably.
Yeah, in the same boat. They're more next year, right, where they'll be thinking to do something. But for most of the teams who were expected to get in here, this is now where the season essentially starts. Yeah. And you get no second chances. Like, it's you play well or you go home. So it's great to watch. It's physical. The refs let them play a little bit more.
Goes to another tier.
A lot of hype around it, a lot of media attention. People, like, it really has no equal when it comes to this stage of the. Yeah, I was very disappointed with the way the NBA playoffs were last year. I just felt like it didn't have the energy behind it that has previously.
That Eastern Conference run from the Celtics, I was
just didn't have it, did it? And then in the Western Conference, a lot of the big players were out. Yeah. They tried to make Ant the next superstar, but not really yet. LeBron wasn't there. Steph wasn't there. Doncic was doing his thing. The Thunder are an emerging team. It just didn't have the juice. Whereas this NFL, I don't even think it got all the stars. Essentially, apart from Burrow, I think you could argue you have all the big QBs, all the big stars, all the big teams. It's going to be excellent.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait.
So what should you do? Start with the picks, the end of the picks from 18, and then
the PS picks from.
I said we won't spend too much time recapping last week. I think most people just care about what's happening this week. So we'll run through this real quick and then just go through how we go for these upcoming games.
Let's get these up. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I think I had another losing week, unfortunately. So let's just get this over quick.
Go yours. So first one. Chiefs plus 10.5.
Yeah, look, obviously the way it ended up is awful. 36-0 or whatever it was. I mean, couldn't be more wrong. But honestly, I don't regret this one. I thought Chiefs, I underestimated just how much they were taking this off. Like, apparently, I listened to someone say that apparently they only did like 2 defensive schemes the whole game. Like, they essentially, not just like coaching-wise, they were like, nah. Like, they were. It was done.
Wentz had like 17 throws, I think, the whole game.
Yeah, no, it was.
They weren't doing anything.
It wasn't just a resting. It was a we don't care. Like a complete top to bottom we don't care. And I thought the Chiefs as an organization would still try to win. And I thought with them trying to win, they have so much just winning momentum that they would keep it close. Like, I just thought the Broncos have all this to lose, all the pressure's on them. The Chiefs know how to win. They're a well buttoned up team. They're well coached. Do all the fundamentals right, which meant they'd be able to keep the game close, and it would go down, maybe not to the wire, but they'd just be lurking. And as I said, they just didn't care. And
I feel sorry for the Bengals, man. Like, imagine they're watching this game, just like,
maybe the Chiefs did it on purpose.
It's like that meme where you're like the stick poker. It's like, do
he's
something.
Already dead. Yeah, I get you. Seriously, I mean, I feel sorry for the Bengals, but maybe that's why the Chiefs did it. They're like, man, let's fuck these Bengals.
Yeah. Next one, Chargers minus 6.5.
Yeah. I really like this one. I thought Chargers have a lot to lose. Wanted to win to get the Texans.
Seeding implications.
I thought they were just the much better team.
Yeah.
Honestly, didn't watch the game. Don't know too much about it, but I just really liked this one in the lead up, and yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Next one was Buccaneers minus 14.5 against our Saints.
Again, this was one of those ones where I thought the Saints would already have shut up shop. Bucks, for me, I saw this being one of those games where Bucks score 40-something points and the Saints struggled to score 12. I knew there was a lot of points to lay in a divisional game. Typically, you don't really like to do this, but I thought 2 different teams in such different universes right now. One team's thinking about next year, coach is gone, so much turmoil, and you have another team that's looking forward to the playoffs next week.
Yeah.
And sort of what I was expecting in the Chiefs game sort of happened in this one, where you had it just close. The Bucks played a little bit tight. They were clearly a little nervous. As we saw when we watched the highlights previously, that Saints were in the lead in the majority of the game until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So Bucks didn't was completely on the wrong side of this one, but I think my logic in it was not too bad. Again, the Saints are just an impossible team to read. One week you think this is a week they're going to do some well, they get blown out. And another week when you write them off, they somehow stick around and put in a good performance. I mean, it's just typical.
So unbelievable. Like, I've kind of changed my perception as to, like, tanking in the NFL, because I always used to be like, surely these guys are thinking about draft position.
Yeah,
but
we've seen blown up this week. Pats literally had
Pats
the number one pick.
1 to 4, and so now Titans have the number 1 pick now. But yeah, just looking at these matches, all these players and coaches, they're basically fighting for spots on future teams, possibly. Like
you saw what tanking
like
looks like with the Chiefs. That's what tanking looks like, and you saw no other team that's in draft order was doing that. Yeah, every other team was actually trying to.
They're
win.
just playing
Some
for
teams
positions,
just are bad.
wanting So obviously, you need to play your third, 4th strings, to make sure you don't win. But yeah, I've kind of just like changed my perception on that sort of thing.
Hey, that's good. You got to learn and grow.
Yeah. Next one, Cowboys plus 6.5.
Yeah, I just saw a divisional game. Commanders a lot to lose. What was the final score on this one?
The final score was
relatively close, I think.
Where are we? 23-19.
Yeah. I just thought Cowboys aren't as bad as a team I think a lot of people think they are this year. Like, I think Cooper Rush has played really well the last few weeks. Commanders are a good team, but they're young. They didn't think they'd be in this position. I just thought they'd have a few nerves this week, not knowing how to go about it with the playoffs looming. And I thought they'd play a little tight, which they did. I thought the Cowboys have nothing to lose. They're at home. I knew they would not put in a poor performance because, they got Jerry Jones there, who's going to be at home expecting them to put on for the fans, put on for the brand. Yeah. I just knew that this would be a Cowboys that wouldn't take it off. And I knew this was a Commanders that might be looking ahead to next week. So, yeah, I saw this one straight away, and I like this one.
I thought there was, like, seeding implications on this one. Like, I thought if Green Bay won and Commanders lost, then it might have been Commanders-Philly in the playoff, but maybe not.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's what... Yeah. Well, obviously, I was on the other side of this one, but that was my thinking about it, but... Anyway, the next one was Vikings plus 2.5.
Yeah, look, I flip-flopped on this one. I liked the Lions initially, then I switched. I thought the Vikings should be favourite, and then I saw the Lions were favourites. Like, I kind of want the points on this one. Could be a close game. In the end, my initial hunch on this game was correct, that the Lions are a big game team, that Dan Campbell will get their defense up for the big games. As we always say on this pod, defense is mental more than anything, and even with all the injuries, if you're seeing it with the highest state in the college. If you get the right intensity, if you get your mental game right, the right build-up, you play together, you just refuse to lose or take a backward step, defense will mostly take care of itself. Now, of course, if you have the talent of a Micah Parsons or these sorts of high-level players, it makes it a lot easier. But at the end of the day, you still need the mentality and the cohesiveness to get defense done. And Dan Campbell's line sort of solidify that element of defense. Yeah. So as you saw, they probably had one of the best defensive performances of the entire year when everyone's writing their defense off. Kept the Vikings to their lowest points of the year, not a touchdown, turn it like just excellent in the red zone. And that's in the red zone sort of the moments where you say, no, we're not conceding a touchdown. And they just refused to. They just blitzed and blitzed and blitzed.
56% apparently.
Made Sam Darnold start seeing ghosts out there. I mean, he got found out a little bit. I mean, it was difficult for him being such a big game, away game, biggest game of his career, getting blitzed all the time. Excellent scheme by Detroit. Yeah. Be interesting to see how Darnold goes this week, because you can assume that the Rams, who have better defensive personnel than the Lions, will be dealing up some more blitzes. Yeah. Because all right, that's how we can get to this guy. Yeah. So he's going to have to show that he can deal with it, and if he can't, that's a big financial hit on his end. So, yeah, I knew I was dead in this game as soon as the Vikings had a poor offensive start, because I said throughout the entire year, Vikings have just been blowing teams away early. I think the schemes that their coach cooks up is just, and Darnold's very good at, seems to be implementing that. They typically have a slow second half. So as soon as the first half was heavy Lions, I was like, yeah, Vikings aren't coming back. So should trust in my initial feeling on this one. I was gelded into it by the points, by thinking this would be a close game. I was hoping it would get to 3.5, but
you were holding out for
obviously wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
So yeah, losing week, unfortunately. I think that keeps me to 500 on the year. Big collapse in the last few weeks.
And then from my side, hang on, just trying to get my text up to you. Yeah. So yeah, I was on Commanders minus 6.5. We already spoke about that game. Lions minus 2.5. I mean, it really helped that Anzalone
he played really well, didn't he?
I don't think there was any talk up until the day of the game that he was going to be coming back that week.
He was a massive difference.
That was a massive difference from them. They have suffered Arnold, the secondary. Like, he got hurt, so still another one that adds to the IR list for their defense. But
you had a week off, though.
Have a week off, which helps.
Big time. You'd have to expect a few people to come back.
100%. And then my other ones, I had Seahawks -6.5.
It was close, wasn't it? It was like a 6-point game.
Yeah, it was. I'm going to get that.
I literally think it was 6 points. It was a bad beat.
Yeah, they versed the Rams. This game... So I went to Seahawks because obviously there was a lot of talk around Geno and some financial incentives that he had on the game. So I thought, he's going to be in for a big one. There's been a lot of talk about the Seahawks and their defense. Like, only a few weeks ago, we were like, this defense, they're looking like insane right now. And they run into a Rams side. I thought it's probably the perfect week because Rams are going to be resting their players, and it's great for Seahawks to at least tie the divisional series between them 1-1, heading into next season. Try and find, a little bit of a silver lining for the year. And their defense just still couldn't make a stop against the Rams B team. So they still win the game, but just couldn't cover the touchdown that I thought they would, and they only win by 5.
I was going to say, when I saw this pick from you, I thought I was a little, like, I wasn't even looking at this game. For me, this was a game I was like, I don't know what to expect. Seahawks are so up and down this year. One week they look great, next week they look awful.
Yeah.
And, as you said, they got the win, but did not look very convincing at all against a team that was thinking of next week.
Nah, because I think if Rams won, they could have got the 3 seed as well, right?
Again,
I'm sure.
No idea with the seedings.
That's why it just works out for them. They win the game. They rest all their players, and now they've got Vikings with arrested starters.
Yeah.
Heading into that home playoff game next week.
I think there might be more Vikings fans though than Rams fans in that game.
Yeah, probably. My next one was Cardinals -4.5. This one won. Yeah, 49ers. I just went with the Cards, really just because Purdy didn't play, and Cardinals running into it, I sort of just liked... What did I like? They're a decent team. They've got a lot of great attacking players on there. James Conner, Marvin Harrison, and obviously Kyler at QB. But they've just been so inconsistent year in and year out, basically, for the past, I'd say 3-4 years, would you say?
Oh, yeah. Since Kyler's been there. He's very up and down.
So I looked at this matchup and just, I don't know, I'm pretty sure they were home. So I thought, going in, season last game, end the season on a good note, and just, go into next year, try and find better form, really. Yeah. And then my next one was the Jets -0.5. So this is the first time I've ever taken the Jets.
Yeah.
And it was just a Rodgers 2025 what would you call it? Audition tape, basically.
Lots to prove, yeah.
Yeah. It was just him making an upset. Miami needed to win to keep their chances in with the playoffs, but Rodgers finally turned up. He had 3 or 4 touchdowns, I want to say. And, yeah, just basically showed us what he can do, but he just can't do consistently week in and week out.
Yeah.
And just has fallen off that sort of tier of a quarterback that we thought he was coming into the start of the year.
I don't think Miami's that good of a team anyways. I think they showed
they didn't. Yeah, they had Tyler Huntley at quarterback, I think.
Yeah, look, as soon as Tua was out, I should have looked at this game more, but I just want to stay away from the Jets. As much I could have seen Aaron Rodgers put in a good performance here to end the season well, would have been just so typical of the Jets to put in an absolute stinker of a performance of the last game. So, again, I found this week really hard to look at. I looked at the whole slate and was like, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. There's so many games
We were speaking, like, the last episode, we were like, this is probably a great week to get back, the public, and,
it was
everyone
awful.
fading. It was just the complete opposite.
So ugly.
I didn't
You
like
just didn't know which teams were going to rest.
Nah.
I'm just not in tune enough either to know, like, the ins and outs of who's coming in and out.
We're dead asleep when it's just before the game and they're announcing team lists and stuff like that. Like,
And to be fair, I'm not scouring the internet all week looking for ins and outs and who trained, who didn't, who's being rested. Like, it's just
especially when we got Boomerang and
we've got a lot going on.
We've got a lot going on.
We're on the other side of the world too. This is borderless sports. We're not just the American football podcast.
But yeah, they're my 5 picks. I end 3-2. Smack bang on 60% for the year.
Hey, tip my hat to you, sir. Well done.
Not bad. I'll take it. Try and find that same form heading into playoffs.
Now the playoffs begin. Now playoffs are a lot more, I feel like, easier to bet on just because you know what you got to expect. Like, every team's going to be trying their hardest. What players are going to, like, just less variables to consider rather than who's the better team.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you're handicapping, there's some different things. But when it comes to win-loss, it's just which team do you think is better, who matches up better. Just simplifies it.
What, do you want to just head straight into our playoff predictions, I would say? What's this called? Bracket?
The bracket? Yeah, let's just go into the bracket and then we can just talk about the games as we go through and just
give our answers on each?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
So let's just start with the first one, shall we? Which, Broncos-Bills?
Broncos-Bills.
Yeah, look.
Bills for me.
You can't not go Bills on this one. I mean,
nah.
Bills are the better team. I think Broncos are just happy to be there.
We've witnessed firsthand, like, how on and off that offense can be from the Broncos.
Yep.
With Bo Nix and Peyton as well. So
the question will be, can the Broncos move the ball? Like, can Broncos score? You know the Bills are going to score.
Can you match that?
I think the Bills match up quite well. I think the Broncos' strength in their defense is probably their secondary. They have really good corners.
Yeah.
But I think the Bills, they win by play action. Is Josh Allen going to run? Is he going to pass? Yeah. And when it comes to playoff time, Josh Allen can just take the shackles off and just run when he doesn't have to worry about hits or anything like that. He just goes for it. So I think he matches up really well against the Broncos. The question will be, can Bo Nix and Sean Payton not match, but can they move the ball and score touchdowns? Once they get to the red zone, can they turn that possession into a touchdown? Yeah. And then that starts to answer the question of, will it be a cover? I think it's 9.5 right now. Probably leaning towards -9 for Bills, being a bigger game. I just think similar boat to the Ravens, where the better team here is just going to show out and everyone's going to be hoping for a close game, but it's just going to be over soon. But, if the Broncos can move the ball, it could be a lot closer than people think. But at the moment, I think Bills win, and they win by more than 10.
It's going to be tough being a 7th seed going into Buffalo trying to get a win. So
at Buffalo home, it's going to stadium's going to be pumping. It's going to be just for a rookie QB, it's going to be as hard as it gets.
Yeah.
So I like Bills minus.
Yeah.
So next one, let's just do all the AFC first round. Yeah, Steelers Ravens.
I went Ravens.
Yeah, Ravens to win.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, he's been a great inclusion for them on the run game. And, Lamar's producing some of the best numbers that he's had compared to his MVP season. So they've caught some form. What have they won the last 3-4 games?
And on the other end, it's the complete opposite. Steelers have looked awful. Had their worst stretch of the year coming into the playoffs. Offense is looking atrocious. Pickens is playing... I mean, man, what a fall-off. Wilson's not playing great, but Pickens, the amount of drops he had on Sunday was just unbelievable. I mean, it was Saturday, or whatever day it was. Was just they don't look like a cohesive unit on offense. And that's been the case for a few weeks now. So, typically... Steelers play the Ravens really well, right? It's always close. They have a great scheme against the Lamar. But this, for me, is just one team on hot form, as you said, and another team in their worst form of the year. So for me, this game screams a Ravens blowout where the Ravens will be able to score early and the Steelers are just not going to be able to move the ball. I mean, the only way the Steelers keep this close is if their defense has a day out against that Ravens offense. But I just think the Ravens are destined for bigger things this year. They're not a wild card team. Their challenge is the week after against Buffalo and then the week after that against the Chiefs. That's where their game is. They're going to come out confident this week. They're going to be thinking, no, we've got these guys. We're not worried about this. They just beat them a few weeks ago. I think Ravens come out confident. I want to take the Steelers plus just because historically and the Tomlin spot. great matchup. I said they historically match up well against the Ravens, but for me, this is a Ravens team that is just destined to move on past this round.
Yeah, surely, right. Especially once you get into later, what that matchup will be if all goes well.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then you have Chargers, Texans. What did you go?
I went the Chargers here.
I went Texans.
You went Texans?
Yeah. I just think Texans, for me, a lot of people are not sold on them. I think they're one of the only... Let me just check. I think they're the only home underdog this week, which just shows the disrespect. We were talking about before that every team in the AFC is trying to play to get the seeding to versus the Texans. Look, the Texans have not been great this year, but I don't think they're as bad as people are saying. I think the Chargers are a good team, but they have holes in their game. Their offense is hot and cold. Their defense is solid, but again, it was really good in the middle part of the season, if I remember correctly, but it's had some weeks previously when it has let some points in. I think the Texans being at home, I think they do have enough to win this week. I think whoever wins this game is going to lose next week, but I think I wanted an underdog pick. I didn't want to just pick all the favorites. For me, this is one of those spots where I think a lot of people will be on the Chargers. They had a good win last week. Texans, I said, a lot of people are out on them. They haven't had many backers, and I just think it's the underdog spot for me.
Yeah, I went Chargers. I mean, it doesn't... Well, when I was first looking at this, because obviously Stroud and his co basically got the rest last week. So they've got rest heading into playoff contention at home. But Chargers, they played their guys, didn't look crazy against a Raiders side that probably they should just put away early, but they couldn't. But I sort of look at this matchup. Offensively, I like the Chargers better. Defensively, I like the Chargers better. Coach v. coach, I like the Chargers better. I feel like the Chargers are in a good spot where they've brought in Hardball, first year, get a round one win, most likely lose the second round, because depending if all goes well, they come up against the first seed Chiefs. I kind of like Dobbins was out. Their offense didn't produce a lot of numbers, but ever since he came back, they've sort of been able to, put points on the board against teams. So, it's another favorite, but I'm just going to stick with the Chargers on this one.
I mean, definitely the Harbaugh is always scary to bet against. He just seems like a guy that's good in these big games. I like the Texans coach though. I forgot his name. But I really like him. I like the culture he produces, come from that San Francisco defensive system. I think he's
DeMarco Ryans.
Yeah, DeMarco Ryans. I think he's a great coach. I think CJ he's built for these kind of spots. I think he'll have a good game, CJ. And I always remember what Herbert did against the Jags when he was up or had that massive halftime lead and then collapsed in the second half of that playoff game in the wildcard round. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe last year a year or two ago. So Herbert has shown that he's not really that good in big games. I mean, he's yet to win a playoff game. All this hype, you said he's a better QB, but he's really got nothing to show for it. So, look, definitely have coach advantage, the Chargers. QB advantage, Stroud hasn't had a great year, but I think he's ready to have a good game. So
I didn't say better QB, I said better offense.
Okay, sorry. But, yeah, I don't even know if it is, but we'll find out. I think this is going to be a close game. Like for me, I couldn't really land on either side comfortably. So I'm like, look, let me give it an underdog because I don't want to pick all faves.
No, that's fair.
I'm interested to see who your underdog's going to be. I have a feeling I know. All right. And then Green Bay Eagles. I mean, it's pretty simple.
I like Philly.
Have to.
Yeah. I mean, they've just looked like...
They can't lose this one, man. They get the
Philly media. You can't be one and done. You can't be one and done.
Think of the media.
I mean, they've really turned a lot of people's expectations around. I know before the season, people didn't like Philly at all.
Can we say that if they lose, their coach is gone?
Yes.
Guaranteed, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think
guaranteed.
By the time he's out the building, he's better be... Just go straight from the field to your office because pack it up.
I mean, there's just been so much outside noise that's come with him, right, that season. Yep. Like, he's barked at fans.
Yep.
I mean, just a lot of the aneurysms and stuff that he says, it's just rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Yeah, I don't think the fans like him.
Yeah.
But he keeps winning, so it's just like, what are you going to do?
Like, I've got this perception of him, but I know a lot of the content that I enjoy, like, Nick Wright, he has his comments about him. Like, so I know I've got a lot of comments from various media. Like I know Bill Simmons and on The Ringer, I listen to him a lot. He has the same sort of perception.
But I think even Philly fans have the same. Like in Philly, the radios are always on his ass.
Yeah, obviously that's what I hear. So I'll take what people say on their merit.
But even if you don't, I understand what you're saying. But the point is that there's so much momentum against him that if he loses this game, all that momentum is just going to be open like a dam, just flooding, and it's going to be even the Eagles front office is probably the best run front office in the league, but I don't think even them will be able to stop the tide and all the off season and just the shit that would come their way if they kept like Sirianni. It would depend how many other coaches there are out there, but yeah, look, they got to win this one. And I think back to the game, I think they probably will. I think the Packers have some injury issues, like Love's got some problems.
Watson's out. Love had some issues in that last game.
The problem is, though, apparently Hurts is still in the concussion protocol.
Really?
Yeah, which is crazy. It's been like 2-3 weeks now. Now, of course, he's still going to play, but there's just a little concern. Maybe that's just precaution, or I don't know, maybe there's something extra going on there. He's not actually still getting symptoms, but just something, something little. Eagles just...
Do you reckon Kenny Pickett takes them to a win?
It would be
just in case?
Nick Foles situation. Look, Eagles are the better team. Yeah. Their defense has played great. They've been on a run. Obviously, their running game is excellent. They're going to have that home field. That home's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
The Packers are dangerous. Like you saw what they did when they went into Dallas last year. Dallas with a hot team. Everyone expected Dallas to win, and then Green Bay surprise everybody and win that game. So they are capable. They're going to need all their players healthy. They're going to have an excellent offensive game, and they're going to have to be able to stop the run. If they can do those things, it's going to be game on. But you just have to think that Philly have too much to lose, been the better team, less injury problems, and for their own sake, they just have to win. For Hurts, for AJ Brown, for the Sirianni, for just everyone on that team, you just got to win this one.
Yeah.
And I think the line on this one's 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah, I like the Eagles minus 4.5.
I would lay the minus 4.5.
Yeah, I like the 4.5. And I also obviously I picked the Texans, so I like the Texans +2 in that. I love it if it goes to +3, which it might, because there might be a bit of money coming on the Chargers. So at +3, I love the Texans. +2, I mean, it depends. If you like the Chargers, you're going to be probably on the Chargers anyways.
Minus 2.5.
I know a lot of pros probably like the Chargers. I just think a lot of people in general are just off the Texans. So I think I'm definitely probably going to be in the minority on this one, but that's all right. And then we go to Washington at Tampa. Interesting one. I see that look on your face. I see where you're going with this one. So I've gone Tampa.
Give me the rookie upset.
Yep, you've gone Washington. Man, what a year this would be to cap off for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, like they started off hot. They've gone through a bit of a lull period, both offensively and like defense has been sort of their bear of the bones really the whole year. But I don't know, in this spot, like it's in Tampa. I hate going against Baker because he's been very, very good to me.
He seems to just win these big games.
He seems to really win these big games.
And he's won playoff games before Baker. He's won some big wildcard games.
Yeah, definitely. But I've gone Commanders.
It's funny because last week or a week or two ago we were talking about Baker, how he's frisky and they're going to win a week one playoff game, and here you are, push comes to shove, and you've gone against it.
I've gone against it. I think this will just be a really tight game. It's going to just be who comes out with the better offense. I mean, Baker's got that resume already. It's going to be if Daniels can come out and, sort of not prove himself, but like it's still just his rookie year. But can he sort of, make maybe just that next tier, make a key pass, make a key run, make a key decision, and sort of just will a team to a win.
This game's going down to the wire.
I think it goes to the wire. Dan Quinn, he's defensive minded, so I expect he'll have his defense sort of ready and primed. Bucks didn't have a great performance against a New Orleans Saints team last week, so they can be got in some stages, and so this is my my one upset. What's the line on this one?
3.5. I love the Washington +3.5 on this because I think this is going to go down to the wire. I think either QB is going to make the play to win this. Either going to drive down the field, get a field goal, drive down the field, get a touchdown. Could even go OT. So I think in that, like I'm picking the Bucks, but apparently this opened at 2.5, which means money's been coming in on the Bucks.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the money's coming in on Tampa, which is a little, I think maybe it's just a lot of people don't trust the QB in his first playoff start on the road, which I get, but Daniels has shown this year that seems like Stroud last year, where just those typical spots where you're like, I don't like a rookie in this spot, they just seem to be able to overcome. So I don't think he will be overawed. You maybe have a slow start, but yeah, I just see this being a bit of a shootout. I see both teams' offense being able to move the ball. And I think it'll come down to 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and see which QB can have the ball last and make a play.
This is the late Sunday game.
Yeah.
Well, the late Monday game for us.
Well, it should be a great watch. Hopefully.
Yeah, so...
definitely a possibility for it to be like a low-scoring, ugly game because both offenses, like you said, the Bucs offense hasn't looked great. Rookie QB could be a little gun-shy. Like, this could actually be the complete opposite of what I just said.
Might step up.
Exactly. So both, I mean, I'm kind of definition for hedge there. Low-scoring game or high-scoring game. It's going to be one of them. It's going to be one of them. Take the over and the under. But no, it's going to, like, you could see both being a possibility, but I just think either way, whatever happens, I think it's going to be a close game. Like, I think both teams will sort of play up to each other here. I think it's going to be an excellent playoff game, and I think for both these teams, it's probably their Super Bowl in a way. Like, I don't think either of these teams could probably... Maybe the Washington could just go on a miracle run, type destiny type stuff where they win next week. But no, I think both teams are one and done.
Yeah.
And so if either team wins this, they'll feel like they've overachieved this year, which is credit to them. Should be a great watch.
Yeah.
And the final one, Vikings at Rams. I've gone Vikings.
I've got Vikings.
Yeah. Oh, that's another underdog. Well done.
Rams are they underdogs?
Yeah, pretty. I'll double check again, but
there's no way.
Top of my head. I think a lot of people are just scared off them based on...
See, I feel like that's just a little bit disrespectful.
Nah, I'm wrong. 1.5. Maybe, I don't know why I got that wrong. But yeah, so it's 1.5 to the Vikings.
Okay, so do you think the line flipped? Or no, you...
Maybe I just got it wrong. Maybe I misremembered. For some reason in my head, I had to think that Rams are favourites. But yeah, look, I just think Vikings are just... had one bad week last week. I think they're the better
just
team.
An outlier.
Rams have been very up and down. They could come out and just have that Bills game.
It's just...
Yeah. They could just have that Bills type game where their offense comes out and plays incredible. As you said, they're rested. But I think the Vikings are a better team than they were made to look last week. I think Detroit just blew them away with just passion, energy, that home field. I don't think there'll be as much of a home field advantage in this one. I think there'll be many Vikings fans in that stadium. I think Darnold, everyone in that team's got a lot to play for. I think they've got good vibes. I think they like playing for each other. I think they'll be able to pick their boots up from that last loss and come out strong. As you said, McVay in the playoffs is always a dangerous guy to bet against, but going to back the Vikings here.
Yeah, no, I've gone Vikings. I think it was just like an outlier game. They couldn't get anything going on offense. Darnold did miss some key throws. They definitely should have had at least some points on the board, but they just couldn't convert, and I don't think that happens 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. And we'll quickly run through the rest of our brackets. Obviously, we won't spend time previewing these games because they're all just hypothetical, but just for the sake of it. So in my AFC that means I have Texans at Chiefs, which for me is an obvious Chiefs. Yep. And then the big one, which I'm sure every bracket will have, Ravens at Bills. I mean, this is sort of the linchpin of the bracket. What you go here will determine everything. And I have gone Ravens. I think Ravens are destined to win this one. I think the way the last year ended with the Chiefs, I just think they're got more. I just think they've got some destiny about them. I just think they have more weapons on offense compared to the Bills. I think Josh Allen will put up points, put up numbers, but I just don't think they have enough in the tank. So I won't get too much into it, but I just early lean is Ravens. That means I have Ravens at Chiefs in the conference final rematch of last year. Man, this would be what a game it's going to be if this is the case. I have Chiefs winning it, but man, with not much confidence because I said the Ravens. You know when a team loses a game and then they get that's the only game they're thinking of all year and you get your revenge. That can either go two ways, right? Where you get really tight or you just play the best game of your career. Yeah. And that could totally happen in this one with the Ravens. So either way, I'm going Chiefs because they have that winner's edge and they've done it.
They've had the wood over them.
They've had the wood, but man, that would be, what a game.
Yeah.
And then the NFC for me, Vikings at Lions would be I would have Lions winning that one.
Yep.
Tampa at Philly. I have Philly winning that one. And then I have Philly at Lions in the conference championship, and I have the Lions winning that. So my Super Bowl is Kansas v. Detroit, and my winner is Detroit. Detroit beat them. Stop the 3-peat. Dan Campbell. I just think the Lions have a sense. I just think the Lions, look, they had to win that
time.
They had to win last week.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that proved to me my early, my preconception about them, that Dan Campbell is built for this playoffs style of coaching. The NFL, he wouldn't be a good NBA coach, but he's a great NFL coach where it's all that one game. It's about getting up for that one game. The players buy in. He's got the right team. Yes, the defensive injuries hurt, but they're going to be rested, more rested than any other team with the Chiefs. They're going to hopefully get some players back. We saw that even just getting Anzalone back, the difference it made. I think defense is an attitude. They're going to be locked in. Goff's playing great. They're going to be indoors the entire time, in the right element. They're going to have that home fans going crazy. They're going to get to the Super Bowl, and I just think they will honestly blow the Chiefs away early. I think they'll come out and just play the perfect Super Bowl game, and I have the Lions beating the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Jeez, okay.
Yep.
Okay. So my bracket worked out where I've got the Chargers going into Kansas.
Yeah.
I choose Kansas.
Have to.
I've got Ravens going into Buffalo.
What'd you go?
I choose Buffalo.
Wow, opposite ends, eh?
I chose Buffalo. Both teams offensively are insane. I think it really comes down to Ravens defense and Ravens secondary.
Okay.
And I really think going into Buffalo, I feel like Josh Allen could probably have one of the games of the season.
He's going to need to.
Games of the season.
This will have to be that Allen game against Chiefs where they lost.
Career.
You know, they lost with 16 seconds left, and Allen just had. He's going to have that game again.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna have some of those demons in his head, and obviously there's a bigger matchup once they come through that. But I like Buffalo in that spot, sticking with the home field advantage. So then
how good's the AFC, eh?
My conference championship is then Buffalo at Kansas.
What a game. Can Buffalo Josh Allen finally do it?
Can he do it? He can't. I've got Kansas. Kansas move on to the Super Bowl. So NFC, the way my bracket worked out, so I had Commanders going into Lions. Lions win that one. And then I've got Vikings going into Philly. I've got Philly winning that one. So then it sets up a conference title between Philly and Lions.
Same.
Lions win that one.
Yep.
Super Bowl.
We have the same Super Bowl.
Kansas versus Lions. Give me the three-peat. Give me the three-peat.
I understand. Kansas are a hard team to bet against.
I get what you're saying about the Lions. You know, Dan Quinn and his guys, like, they've been the best offensive team. But when you're talking about getting a team ready for an experience the Super Bowl is, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce.
Oh, they've done it.
They've been there, done that. They're looking to make history. They make history.
I just don't think Chiefs win this year. Like, for me, I think it's just too easy. Chiefs. Like, I just think it's... I think most people's bracket will have Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I think most people's brackets might even have them winning the Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose that championship game. But the only thing is it's at Arrowhead. Right, like, they are hard to beat at Arrowhead in that atmosphere. The only person to do it is Burrow, who beat them in the conference final, right? Yeah. And his career is still living off that win.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because it's probably the hardest thing to do in football right now.
Yeah.
Now, I think the Ravens or the Bills, whoever win that game, will have a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence, but they'll know that this is their Super Bowl, right? Yeah. So I just think, and I could, like, I Ravens or the Bills, I 100% see a scenario where they beat the Chiefs in that conference final. Like, I don't think it's a slam dunk that Chiefs even make it to the Super Bowl, but I just think for the sake of the bracket, I think I put the Chiefs in, and then even if the Ravens or the Bills make it to the Super Bowl, I still think they lose to the Lions.
I stick with Lions.
I think for me, I said their Super Bowl would be that conference championship, whereas the Lions will be Super Bowl.
I agree with that.
They'll be peaking at the right time. Yeah. But I mean, I just said, what an incredible playoffs we have. I'm sure they'll be, knowing how brackets work, there'll be a bloody Broncos will beat the Bills first up, and everything will be gone. It's like, why do we even spend the time?
Steelers beat the Ravens.
Oh, good. I hope not. I hope the AFC does turn out like we said, where it's Chiefs, Ravens, Bills.
I want that divisional matchup, and then I want that conference championship matchup. Yeah. Like, that's what I want.
I mean, the AFC is going to be excellent. The NFC as well.
NFC, I want Eagles and Lions.
Yeah,
sure.
that'd be
that will be a.
Again, though, I can definitely see a scenario where the Eagles just falter. Like, the Bucs somehow beat them, right? Baker somehow puts up 400 yards.
Even how I've got them, like, Vikings. If Commanders win, Vikings going into Philly, like, that's possible for sure.
Even the Vikings getting revenge against Detroit. You know, Detroit could maybe have a letdown spot there. Look, I don't know. Because remember, if the Vikings go into Detroit. That would be Detroit's like first game since they just beat the Vikings at home.
Yeah.
And that's a spot where you could get a little overconfident, right? Where you like a little.
I was thinking about that next matchup with Lions Vikings, and like I want to see Lions do well. Like I'm sort of like on their sort of bandwagon of a fan.
Yeah,
like,
they're easy to root for.
They've got some great players like Gibbs and St. Brown, and like they've got some absolute stars. So I'm rooting for him, but I think about that next matchup, and I'm like, can they win that series 3-0?
Can they repeat that?
Can they repeat that?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough performance to replicate. I mean, on one hand, you say, well, they've already done it, so just do it again. But on the other hand, it's like, well, the Vikings will be ready for that this time. You know, they're gonna be ready for the onslaught. They're gonna make the adjustments, and if they come off from beating the Rams away, you know, they're gonna feel pretty good. So I don't think it'll be as easy as it was in the first week, where the Lions just blow them away. So that's not a guarantee either. So look, this playoff's really wide open. Even in the wild card, there's a few games that could go either way. Like I could totally see Green Bay winning, could totally see Commanders winning, Rams, Vikings, either team, Texans, Chargers, either team. They're really only two games that you would assume are the Bills and Ravens doing it easy, right? Yeah. Every other game you could easily see an upset or something, a spanner being thrown in the works. So look, it's the playoffs are looking great. I mean, should be one for the ages, really, if everything works out. And yeah, I can't wait.
I mean, the NFL is like sort of like the way that they've set up this sort of 18 weeks, and then this, what is it, 4 round playoff sort of contention. It's a really good recipe that they've got here, and it's it works. It's why it's doing a lot better than.
And I like how they have only the one team with the bye. First seed gets a win. I think that's, you should be rewarded for being the number 1 seed, 100%. And the number 2 seed still gets an advantage because they get home field advantage all the way to the conference final as long as the number 1 seed wins. So yeah, I think it works well.
Yeah, for sure. So no, I'm excited. Can't wait.
Hell yeah.
And we'll see how the bracket goes.
I said, well, the thing with brackets, it can be done real quick, but hopefully one of us maybe can have a full slate of wild card and then get into the divisional games.
Imagine if like, obviously we've got differences in like wild card and divisional, but if it comes down to a Chiefs Lions Super Bowl,
well, I'm going to be putting a 6-legger on all my wild card winners, and then I'll just like parlay that. So basically, the way you bet a bracket is you bet all your first rounds, and then the winnings of that you put that into your next multi, and you just keep going. I'm also going to be putting just a little something. I don't know what the Lions Super Bowl odds are. Let me have a quick look. It can't be.
Yeah, can you do like an exacta with Chiefs and Lions in the Super Bowl? I'm sure it's probably
Super Bowl matchup,
the number 1 seeded teams, but it's got to be something, right?
Detroit Lions to beat Kansas, $8.
Right, okay.
And then let me just see what Detroit's paying straight up. They're favourite.
They're favourite to win it.
$4.
Look at you picking favourites.
Kansas $4.50. That is shocking. And then Baltimore and Buffalo both $6.50. Eagles $7. And then you have Vikings at $15. I mean, look, the Rams aren't until $31. Like that just shows that the Vikings are only a 1.5 point favourites, but yet $15, like basically half the odds to win the Super Bowl.
What are the odds of Ravens and Bills? Sorry,
both $6.50.
They're both $6.50.
Yeah, and then even Tampa 21 is not too bad. The lowest is Texans at 91. Just shows how they have no love. Steelers even higher than them. Like what?
Wow.
Broncos 76, Commanders 36. So yeah, I mean, Detroit the faves. I mean, I would love to have known what their odds were before they beat the Vikings. Yeah. And then as soon as that, everyone would have just hammered that because, home field advantage,
for sure.
Momentum. I mean, the entire narrative just switched. Oh, they got too many defensive injuries. They can't do it. And now it's like, oh, they're the favorite to win everything.
Yeah. No, it's unbelievable. It's going to, I think it's going to be a great, 3-4 weeks. So
yeah, it's always bittersweet that the series, the season's coming to an end, but
this is where it gets juicy.
This is where it's good, and it's kind of worked because I feel the regular season was just coming to an end anyway. So I feel like it's ready for it to end. It's like the perfect time, probably a week too long, but I think that's a good thing because it makes it, you just get more keen for the playoffs. So when the playoffs come around and the Super Bowl is come and gone, I think it'll be bittersweet, but mostly sweet because I think it'll be a great series. And
it's the perfect amount of football that you get.
Exactly. And us in Australia, one, we still have the NBA going on, and hopefully it'll start picking up. And two, we have the Australian sports in NRL and AFL start to pick up. So it's sort of like the perfect, for us, interim in the in our summer.
100%. But no, I think that's... what else did you want to touch on?
I mean, what are we up to? How long have we been going for?
Hour and and a half.
Yeah, we'll end it there. We're going to talk a bit college, but I mean, I feel like hour and a half's already, and with college, we're just going to be talking out our ass anyways. It's kind of
4 from 4.
You were 4 from 4. So give us a quick predictions for this week.
Quick predictions for this week. Oh man, it's Texas v
Ohio. That's a big one.
Ohio, that's the big one.
I'm guessing Ohio were pretty big faves.
Yeah.
All 44 for Ohio. That's crazy.
And then what? That makes it Notre Dame versus Penn State.
Notre Dame but Penn State.
Give me...
Notre Dame's the favourite. Just.
Okay. I'm going to go Ohio State to beat Texas. Penn State to beat Notre Dame.
All right. I'm going the other upset. I'm going Texas to win. Boom.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame to win. If Texas win, wow. We're going to be doing a lot more college football.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, when is that? So Saturday 11:30 is that game. That's a must-watch. Ohio State, Texas.
There's a Friday one, right?
Friday's 11:30, Notre Dame, Penn State. So yeah, Saturday must-watch that Ohio State, Texas, and then our Sunday is the first of the wild card games, and then it's 3 days of wild card, and then plenty of football.
Setting up
This is where it gets to the pointy end.
100%. But no, I reckon let's end it there. That was a great ep. Some cricket, some NFL, a little bit of college. Very little, but, if it
I don't know if we'll have an ep before the next NFL games. I mean, maybe not, because we've just basically previewed it all. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on. But we just preview everything, so if we do, maybe we'll see if anything's going on. But if not, we'll be back on as soon as those games are ended, hopefully on Monday's last game.
No, there's a Monday night game. So Tuesday.
Damn, is there a Tuesday? So Saturday?
I'm positive.
Sunday, Monday. Yeah, it'll be Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Double check.
So they're
there's
going to have
a Tuesday game. Rams and Vikings is a Tuesday game for us.
So I guess we'll have to be on then Tuesday night then.
Yeah.
Or we'll go Monday just before that game. But yeah, we'll see. Either way, more than likely, most of those games will have finished, and we'll see how our brackets are looking.
100%.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Peace out.